Hey everybody, welcome back to Real Agency.
Glad to be back.
We're going to jump right in. We want to give you guys the latest information and really break down this new report by Marco Santarelli.
Absolutely.
And this is the Florida housing market forecast as of November 1st, 2024.
That's right. Just came out.
So hot off the press.
Hot off the press.
Let's just jump right into it. I think that, a lot of people are wondering what's going on
Yeah.
with this market
Okay.
because,
Sure.
we've seen some pretty rapid growth and now things seem to be slowing down.
Yeah.
So what is the overall forecast?
Yeah. So the good news is no crash.
Okay.
We are seeing a slowdown for sure. We had some crazy growth in the past couple of years.
Right.
Things are definitely slowing down, but no need to panic.
Okay.
Rising interest rates, that's definitely, putting the brakes on a little bit.
Yeah.
But Florida's demographics are really strong.
Huh.
People are still moving here.
Yeah.
Population growth is really the key for real estate.
Right.
And so we're expecting to continue to see positive trends, but at a slower pace.
Got it.
So we don't expect prices to plummet,
Right.
like they did back in 2008.
Right.
We're looking at more of a stabilization
Okay.
and then a gradual growth period.
Okay. So a slowdown, not a crash.
Exactly.
What is that looking like in terms of numbers? Like what can we expect over the next couple of years?
Sure. So the prediction is that we'll see kind of a stabilization period, and we might even see a slight dip. Some analysts are saying 10 to 15%.
In some markets.
In some markets, yeah, not across the board.
Right.
But then after that, they're predicting a rebound with steady appreciation.
Okay.
Probably in the range of like 3 to 5% annually.
Okay. 3 to 5% annually. And when do they think that rebound is going to start?
So probably starting in 2025.
Got it. So a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're landing on solid ground.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we explain this to our clients?
Mm-hmm.
What do they need to know right now?
Well, I think honesty is key, just like we're talking right now.
Right.
You got to explain to them that, prices might dip temporarily.
Right.
But this is not a crash.
Yeah.
This is not 2008.
Right.
Florida's population growth is a huge factor here.
Right.
And it's expected to continue. So more people means more demand.
Yeah.
And that supports the market long term.
So you're saying emphasize the long-term nature of this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Real estate is a long game.
Right.
And, while there might be some bumps along the way,
Yeah.
the fundamentals of the Florida market are really strong.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So no need to panic, but we should be prepared for some adjustments.
Exactly.
What about inventory? That's been a hot topic lately. What's the latest there?
Yeah. Inventory is on the rise.
Okay.
Which is fantastic news for buyers.
Right.
They've got more options, which means you've got more leverage to negotiate deals.
Okay.
For example, in September 2024,
Okay.
we saw a 5.7-month supply of single-family homes. That's a 61.7% increase year over year.
Wow. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
So that means that there are more homes on the market for sale?
More homes on the market sitting longer.
Got it.
And so, yeah, buyers have a little bit more power.
Okay. Good time to be a buyer then.
It is.
But what about those holding properties? How should they be approaching this market?
Yeah, I think sellers need to be realistic.
Okay.
With more inventory, pricing strategy is crucial.
Right.
They might not see the same rapid price increases that we've had recently.
Right.
Underpricing slightly to attract buyers could be a smart move in this market.
Okay.
Just to kind of get more eyes on the property.
Got it. All right. So we've got stabilization, rising inventory, and the potential for a slight dip followed by steady growth.
Right.
What about interest rates? They've been all over the place lately.
Yeah, interest rates are the wild card here.
Yeah.
But the prediction is that they're going to stay high for a bit, probably hovering between 6 and 7%,
Okay.
which could discourage some buyers in the short term. But analysts are predicting a gradual decline.
Okay.
And so that could entice buyers back into the market and really fuel that rebound that we talked about.
Gotcha. Okay. So that makes sense. It's all about, waiting to see what happens with those rates.
Right.
Now, I know we're kind of painting a broad picture here.
Yeah.
What about specific areas?
Yeah.
Are there any hot spots or any areas that we should be cautious about?
Yeah, so not all areas are created equal.
Right.
And CoreLogic has actually flagged 3 areas as potentially vulnerable.
Okay.
Gainesville,
Okay.
Palm Bay, Melbourne, Titusville,
Okay.
and Lakeland-Winter Haven.
Got it.
Each one's facing kind of unique challenges.
Okay, so let's break those down then. Gainesville,
Yeah.
I know that's a big college town.
Yeah.
So is that related to potential shifts in, people going back to, in-person learning versus remote?
Yeah, exactly. Gainesville is really susceptible to shifts in, remote learning, student enrollment, all of that.
Okay.
If the university is not doing well, the housing market's going to feel it.
Makes sense. What about Palm Bay, Melbourne, Titusville?
So that's the Space Coast.
Right.
And they're really tied to the aerospace and defense industries,
Got it.
which can be a little bit volatile.
Yeah.
They're susceptible to budget cuts, things like that.
Okay. And then Lakeland-Winter Haven.
So Lakeland-Winter Haven is interesting because they saw prices skyrocket recently.
Yeah.
But those price increases haven't really matched local wage growth.
Oh,
So that makes them vulnerable to, any kind of economic hiccups.
right. So if there's a downturn in tourism or the service industry,
Exactly.
that's going to hit them harder.
Yeah.
Okay. So location, 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 as always.
Absolutely.
But even with these vulnerable areas, the overall picture for Florida doesn't sound too bleak.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think the important thing is to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
While some markets might soften, literally, Florida as a whole has a lot going for it.
Absolutely.
We've got consistent population growth,
That's
a diverse economy. Yeah.
And you can't forget the sunshine.
You can't forget the sunshine.
That's a big draw for a lot of people.
Huge draw. And, we even talked about Miami kind of defying the odds
Yes.
with that, price growth that we've seen there.
Like Miami's a whole different animal.
It is.
But it just goes to show how diverse the Florida market can be.
Right. You can't just, lump it all into one,
Exactly.
big category.
Exactly.
So stay informed, be strategic, and remember, even in a shifting market, there are always opportunities.
Absolutely. You got it.
That's great advice. So no need to panic, but stay informed and adapt your strategies.
I love it.
Now we've talked about national trends. We've talked about some potential trouble spots.
Right.
What about the underlying forces that are shaping Florida's market?
Yes.
Let's dig into that in the next part of our breakdown.
Let's do it. Yeah. So let's dive into some of those underlying forces. I think, we touched on climate change earlier.
And it's a big one for Florida. I mean, rising sea levels, you've got stronger hurricanes, and then those insurance costs
Oh, yeah.
are really starting to affect property values and also influencing where people choose to live.
Absolutely. And, I've even had clients specifically ask about things like flood zones and hurricane-resistant construction. So it's definitely top of mind for a lot of people.
Absolutely. You need to be the expert that your clients can rely on. Stay updated on flood zone maps, look at climate projections, the latest building codes.
Right.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to helping your clients assess risk.
Absolutely. All right. So climate change is one big force.
Right.
What else is impacting the market?
Well, demographic shifts are huge. Florida's population growth, it's not slowing down, but where people are choosing to live within the state is changing.
Right.
And that has a direct impact on demand in specific areas. Certain towns are booming while others are kind of stagnating.
Okay, so we need to pay attention to those migration patterns, like where are people moving and why, like what's driving those decisions?
Absolutely. And that's where your local expertise comes in, Is it retirees looking for a slower pace of life? Is it young professionals flocking to the cities, families looking for good schools? Figure out what's attracting people to your specific area and then use that to your advantage.
I like that. Tailor the message to the audience. Okay, so we've got climate change, demographic shifts. Anything else that we should be aware of?
Well, let's not forget investor activity. Florida has always been a hot spot for investors, but we're starting to see a shift. Some investors are selling off properties, which is contributing to that rise in inventory that we talked about earlier.
That's interesting. Why are they selling now? Are they getting nervous about the market?
It's hard to say for sure. Some might be cashing out after all those years of rapid appreciation. Others might be shifting their focus to markets that they perceive as having less climate risk. It's really important to understand the motivations of investors in your local market.
Okay, so keep an eye on investor activity because that can tell us a lot about where the market might be heading.
Exactly. And, we can't forget about the economy either. I mean, we're in a little bit of a volatile time right now nationally. Inflation and interest rates are fluctuating.
Right.
And this uncertainty can make both buyers and sellers a little bit hesitant.
So it's not just about what's happening here in Florida. We need to keep an eye on the national picture as well.
Precisely, a strong national economy usually means a healthy housing market and vice versa. Things like inflation, interest rates, employment numbers, all those things can impact what happens here in Florida.
Okay, so lots of moving pieces. We've got, local trends, national trends, climate concerns. those demographic shifts and those unpredictable investors.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So how do we make sense of it all?
Hmm.
How do we use this information to really help our clients?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's exactly what we're going to tackle in the final part of this breakdown. We'll discuss some strategies for navigating this ever-changing market and provide some actual advice that you can use with your clients.
Okay, so we've talked about the trends. We've talked about the challenges and the opportunities in this Florida housing market. How do we actually use all this knowledge to guide our clients, help them make smart decisions?
Yeah, the number one thing I would say is communication is key. Keep your clients informed, share those market updates, explain what they mean for them specifically, and don't be afraid to talk about the challenges, the potential downsides. Transparency builds trust.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. No one likes surprises, especially when it comes to, probably their biggest investment. So communicate clearly and often. What else can we do to really support our clients in this kind of market?
I think becoming that local market expert is more important now than ever. Go beyond the basic stats. Know your inventory like the back of your hand. What are the unique selling points of different neighborhoods? What are the schools, like the amenities, the parks? The more, the better you can advise your clients.
Yeah, become a walking encyclopedia of your local market.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. What about pricing strategies with inventory rising? How do we help sellers get the best price for their properties?
Yeah, this is where your expertise really comes in. I think, helping sellers understand the current market dynamics is key. Underpricing slightly to attract more buyers might be a smart move in some areas, but really highlighting those unique features and emphasizing the value, I think that's going to be more important than ever.
So strategic pricing is more important than ever.
Yeah.
Okay, what about working with buyers?
Yeah.
They've got more options now, but navigating this market can still be a little bit tricky. How do we help them?
I think help them understand that, while they do have more choices, they shouldn't wait too long to make a move. That dip in prices that we talked about, that could be a really good opportunity for them to snag a great deal.
Yeah.
But they also need to remember that interest rates are still a factor.
Right, so it's a balancing act. Help them weigh the pros and cons of jumping in now versus waiting to see what happens.
Exactly.
Okay. What about those vulnerable areas that we talked about earlier? How do we advise clients who are interested in buying or selling in those markets?
I think honesty and transparency are key. Explain those potential risks. If a client is really determined to buy in one of those markets, help them do their due diligence.
Yeah.
Research the local economy, understand the factors that are at play, and make sure they're making an informed decision.
So knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
As always, we need to educate our clients and empower them to make those smart choices. Any other words of wisdom for navigating this shifting market?
Yeah, I would say embrace technology, use those virtual tours, social media, all the tools that we have available to us, email marketing, all those things can help you stay connected with your clients and showcase your knowledge in this market. Being tech savvy can give you a real edge.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
We've got to use all the tools that we have available to us. So to sum it up, I think, the Florida housing market, it is going through a shift, but it's not all doom and gloom. There are definitely opportunities out there
Absolutely.
for both buyers and sellers.
For sure.
The key is to stay informed, adapt your strategies, be that trusted advisor that your clients need, provide that honest guidance, leverage your local market expertise, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you so much for breaking all this down for us.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it. And to all of our fellow Florida realtors out there, stay informed, stay sharp,